Now you already know that the new Nexon is a big step forward, but it can also be argued is that the Nexon EV is what has kept this compact SUV relevant for so long to begin with. It also happens to be the first EV that became a truly mainstream choice in India, so this new one has big shoes to fill. To this end, the Nexon EV has received a host of changes. There's a new motor that's 20 kgs lighter and smaller but makes the same 145 PS in this long-range model. Torque has dropped to 215 Nm from 250, but Tata says there's lower gearing and easier access to the torque now. A more efficient cooling system has been added too for the batteries and cabin. This has allowed the ARAI range of this long-range model to go up to 465 km from the previous max's 453 km. Charging speeds haven't changed, but the Nexon EV now adds V2L and V2V functionality. So you can power small appliances at 2.6 kilowatts and charge other EVs at 3.2 kilowatt. That's about the same rating as a portable charging. Now with all the changes that have been made to the drivetrain of the Nexon EV, the driving experience has changed understandably. And with this new motor, you are a bit apprehensive at first, considering it has 215 Nm, which is somewhat less than the 250 Nm it had earlier. And even the 0 to 100 time is slower. It's 8.9 for this one, and we've tested the Nexon EV Max at 8.8 seconds, and we're driving its current equivalent, the long-range Nexon EV. But in the real world, you don't really notice all that much of a difference. So it will still start off progressively, and then so it's always got that very linear, that very easily accessible electric torque. So you're just smoothly moving along. There's no real effort seemingly from the drivetrain. But really, the one thing that you do notice is the general refinement that's come into the drivetrain. It's quite a bit better calibrated. Yes, Tata Motors had made progress in this regard over the course of the last Nexon EV, but it's really gone up a step with this update. So for example, you notice that the power delivery, there's no spikes or dips, it's very constant, so you're never surprised by how the car is moving forward. And you also notice this when you say get off the throttle and the car shifts from putting down power to going into regen. The shift is very smooth, very progressive. You almost don't notice it. You'll have to look into the dial to or feel the deceleration to actually know that the car is slowing down. So that's very nicely done. And also, now that you have the paddles, it's also very easy to switch between regen modes. So when the road opens up and you don't need a lot of regen, you can quickly pull at the left paddle and it will free up the drivetrain and you have more performance, less regen. So in that sense, it's very easy and you can very quickly alter the drivetrain to suit your needs. Now the effect of the regen has also increased. There's 10 to 15% more recuperation that's happening, and that also helps, especially in the highest regen mode. It still won't one pedal drive, but it will slow right down to a 5 kmph crawl, which means that, say, in very heavy traffic, you barely have to do a thing. The car just keeps moving forward by itself, so that makes traffic very, very easy to negotiate. And then of course you have these drive modes. They haven't changed, the Eco, City and the Sport, so you get the full outputs in the Sport like earlier, and then progressively lesser and lesser torque. But that too has been refined further. So say for example in the Sport mode, when you put your foot down earlier, you would notice that the car couldn't put all its power down very easily. But that doesn't happen anymore. There's no scrabbling at the wheels, so the Nexon EV will just pick up and move. And that smoother, more refined progress that you find in the Nexon EV, that's true for all drive modes. Now this new Nexon EV also rides and handles in a more polished way. It's an EV, so you will notice those broken patches, potholes, big speed breakers, but it's not jarring. It rounds off these bumps in a way that keeps you comfortable, so the car isn't moving around too much, so that's not a problem all that much. And then in terms of high-speed stability, as you keep building speed, it's got a higher top speed, remember 150 kmph, so you can easily do proper highway speeds in this car. So at those speeds, it's perfectly rock solid, perfectly steady. And like how the earlier Nexon was, and like how most of Tata's EVs are, it's also quite a good handling car. So on a twisty section of road, you will notice that the weight, which is placed so low, it really helps this tall SUV. Yes, it will lean, but it leans in a very progressive, very predictable manner. And these paddles, they help you slow down as you enter a corner. Now it will take some getting used to, and you have to be quite the enthusiast to do that. But when you do get the hang of it, it's quite pleasing to see that without pressing the brake pedal, you can slow the Nexon EV down. It'll just turn in very smoothly. So if you like driving, then there's something in the Nexon EV for you as well. And helping that sensation is the steering feel. Now it's quite different from what we just experienced in the regular Nexon very recently. And yes, there is some heft, but there's also a reasonable amount of directness and precision. So you always have a sense of confidence. You know where the car is going to go, you know where to point it, say, even when you're negotiating a bad patch of road like we are right now, or when you're driving a bit more spiritedly. With this update, the Tata Nexon EV takes that clean e-mobility theme further with its styling changes. The blanked out fascia is very well integrated into the sharp new face. The Nexon EV is easily differentiated from its ICE counterpart by the full-width lighting with its trick animations. Also different and pricier feeling is the grated inserts in the bumper. The blue EV branding has been kept restrained too. The air curtains, wheel inserts and spoiler that it shares with the ICE Nexon have increased aero efficiency and added 2% range. Tata also claimed that the tyres for the 16-inch wheels are of the lowest resistance in the country. The Nexon EV also gets a new empowered trim that brings with it this very well done pearlescent white paint. The ground clearance is at 190mm down from the ICE's 208mm. So we have just time for a quick rough range test with the Nexon EV. So we have about 35 kilometers to get to our hotel where we have to drop off the car. We're just done with our shoot. So just put it in the eco drive mode, put it in the maximum regen level. So let's see how it fares. We managed to cover 41.4 kilometers entirely in the city and used 4.45 kilowatt to do this. This gives the new Nexon EV a 9.03 kilometers per kilowatt hour efficiency figure and a range of 377 in the city. This is higher than the last time we range tested a Nexon EV Max, which returned a city range of 355 kilometers. Effectively, you can expect the new Nexon EV to be 5 to 7% more efficient than the previous versions, in line with Tata's claims. Now on the inside, the Nexon EV now gets a different theme from the ICE versions. There's no purple or all black here, and this lighter, more white focused theme, if you will, again carries over from what we saw in the previous iterations of the EVs. So while this new central section is pretty much identical, the whole dash in fact is pretty much identical to the ICE Nexon and gets pretty much all of the changes. You find that this panel here is finished in this off-whitish look with that blue contrasting stitching that has always been a Tata EV theme. And that continues with this seat upholstery and this stitching on the seats and also on the steering wheel. Now with this grey and this white two-tone finish, the steering wheel genuinely looks very premium. And then of course you have that trick glow-up logo and these nice buttons. And also, like the IC versions, you now get paddles with the Nexon EV as well, and these control the regen. Now coming to more changes, again the overall functionality hasn't changed from the last version. So while you do get this new capacitive panel and it has more functions than the IC Nexon, you still get that very useful charge lock feature. You get that hill descent control button, and then of course the lock unlock and for the 360-degree cameras. Now coming here, again there is more change. You get an electronic parking brake, again same as what the earlier Nexon EV Max got, and the auto hold button. But the buttons have changed and they're also very well finished, just like this toggle type shifter, again taken from the new ICE Nexon. But what will probably catch your eye first in this EV version of the Nexon is this new 12.3-inch screen. It comes with that highest empowered trim which you don't get on the ICE Nexon. And while it's broadly very similar to use as the smaller 10.25-inch screen, it's just got a green EV focused theme to it. You do get one additional feature, which is this arcade EV function. Now this is essentially an app suite which is quite useful. Say for example you're charging and you have a lot of time to kill, then you have access to OTT platforms, you have access to music apps and games right here, so you won't get bored in the time that you spend charging. Also different is this 10.25-inch screen. The screen itself is the same, but you get different graphics, and to be honest, they're better thought out than the IC ones. The range readout is bigger, the power and regen dial is much more easy to read. You can see the charge level, the regen levels very easily, and the speed is also very easily visible. Again, you have different views with this too, which changes the functionality, just moves around the dials depending on how you like it. There's also reduced display here like in the IC version, and then that very thoughtful feature of there being Google Maps right in the screen that carries over to the EV version as well. The extensive features package from the new ICE Nexon has made its way here too. You get full LED lighting, auto headlamps and wipers, ventilated seats, wireless charging, height adjustable seats for both front passengers, 9-speaker JBL audio with sound stages and the effective 360-degree cameras. With the battery placement, the boot is slightly smaller, 350 litres compared to the one in the ICE. There are 6 airbags as standard as well as ESC, TPMS, hill hold and hill descent control. Now the rear seat experience in terms of outright space is of course exactly the same as the ICE Nexon, but there are some differences. For example, this lighter interior theme with the white and the grey upholstery, it makes for a brighter area space, so you feel like you're in a bigger car than say in the ICE Nexon. And keeping with the changes, you now only get one Type-C charging port here. In the earlier Nexon EV Max you didn't get any, but in the ICE Nexon you get two, a Type-A and a Type-C, but this is a 45-watt charger, so you can even power a laptop with this. Now in terms of outright comfort, there is some compromise to be made because of the packaging of the EV. So the floor is slightly higher than in the ICE Nexon. So you do sit in a marginally knees up position, but with this very good bolstering of the seats, this protruding base, that's controlled very well. Now this new seat upholstery, again, it's quite comfortable. The contouring is very nice. It supports your lower back pretty well, and then of course you have this nice armrest with the upholstery. So yeah, and just like in the ICE Nexon, this middle seat may not be all that great for an adult. It's best kept for children, but you still do get this 3-pointed seat belt. The previous Tata Nexon EV was such a success purely based on the balance it achieved in terms of price, range and features. This new one seems to take things further on all these counts. Yes, it will get more expensive, but you now get notably more range, more refined performance and an impressive improvement in the tech that's on board and in the cabin ambience. Another step forward for the Nexon EV then.